This is Danny Robbins from Uncanny, and I am at the Liverpool Playhouse here for Haunted Scouse's YouTube channel, and there should be somewhere around here, you should find a subscribe button.
Hi guys, and as you can see, I'm sat next to Danny Robbins here, and we're actually in Liverpool's Playhouse Theatre where the Uncanny, I Know What I Saw, second leg of the tour is on tonight, but Danny's took some time out to speak to the Haunted Scouse family beforehand. So yeah, thanks very much for this, Danny.
A pleasure. Yeah, it's nice to be here. We've been talking about coming to Liverpool for ages. I've been here on my book tour, I filmed here for Uncanny. We came and filmed about the Bold Street time slips.
We did.
And so actually performing the Uncanny tour here is great. We couldn't get here on the first day. We couldn't make the theatre's dates work. So to have 2 nights here is just brilliant. Yeah,
I mean, as soon as we seen the dates were up, we thought, yeah, great. And I thought that's the power of television as well. I think, maybe the theatres have looked at it and seen and gone, this fella's been on the telly now.
No, it's nice. It's lovely. I think that the Uncanny community has grown. I think there's so many people found us through the podcast, but then there's a whole another league of people who find us through the TV series, and it's great. It just feels like it's kind of growing all the time. There's such an interest in this subject, as you will know yourself.
Yeah, exactly, and especially in a city like Liverpool, one of the many old theatres. They might look modern on the outside, but when you get behind it, like where we're sat here.
Yeah, I think Liverpool loves its paranormal, doesn't it? It loves the supernatural. I think maybe it's that kind of Irish influence from the past. But just, this definitely, it's a city full of ghost stories and a city that kind of enjoys a good ghost story.
No, it certainly is. And from my perspective, what I wanted to ask you about, because obviously we're here for Uncanny, but I wanted to draw back from Uncanny a bit and ask about the witch farm. Because I've just started listening to that again for the second time today. And it's are there any plans to do any more?
A long-form series, yeah. It's something that people often ask me on the tour, actually, about whether we'll do that. And definitely, I think we've got a real burning desire to do that. Because we started, our first podcast for the BBC was Battersea Poltergeist, which some people will know, which across like 12 episodes told this amazing story of 1950s South London, this poltergeist case that ran for 12 years. And then The Witch Farm was the sequel to that, and that was based in Wales, in Brecon, and the Brecon Beacons, and again told a really intriguing story of apparitions and poltergeist activity and all sorts. And then Uncanny has just kind of become such a kind of, kind of this kind of mad phenomenon now that it's taken up all my time. I spend all my time doing Uncanny, touring or doing the TV series, the podcast, the book, all of that. So we haven't had the time to sit down and look at another case like this. But we absolutely must, I think, because I think it's a really pleasurable way of telling a story for me.
Yes.
I loved mixing documentary and drama. I loved the fact that we could use actors to bring this to life, any documentary needs people talking, and when you have, people who are no longer with us, like in Battersea and so on, then bringing them to life through drama is just a great, incredible, amazing way to kind of almost like kind of create your own archive. You're using the real events and then bringing them to life.
I think that's the power of it, because I think that's why, obviously I love Uncanny. I think, obviously doing what we do in Haunted Scouse, it's all about listening to ghost stories, going to places. But I think the difference with the Battersea Poltergeist and the Witch Farm, once you're immersed in it, like I know my wife said she couldn't listen to the Witch Farm.
No, right, too scary.
Because she got to a point where she was like, I'm not listening to it till we're both in bed. And
my wife won't listen to anything I like at all. Like she can't bear the scares. I think it is. It's very immersive, and I think I made the Witch Farm after having spent a bit of time working with Blumhouse in Hollywood. They bought the rights to Battersea Poltergeist, which still hasn't been made, still kind of stuck in Hollywood development hell. But it was a really interesting period where I was working with these people who make Hollywood horror movies and talking about the whole concept of how you scare people. Basically, I remember working with this one particular guy who was like their kind of doctor of scares, who came in to sort of scare things up, and just chatting about the whole kind of psychology of it. The kind of looking at it as a kind of science, if you like, of how to scare people. And I think a lot of that fed into Witch Farm. And so I think Witch Farm is a scarier series than Battersea, probably. And
if you haven't listened to it yet, guys, listen to it on headphones, because I've just started listening to it for the second time on headphones. and the sound effects.
Yeah.
You are there in the moment.
Yeah, we've got this
people.
We've got this brilliant sound designer we work with called Charlie Brandon King. She's brilliant, and a great composer as well, Evelyn Sykes, and they are such an important part of what we do. They've worked on Battersea and Uncanny and The Witch Farm, and also on the Uncanny TV series. And the whole idea of that is immersing you and plunging you into a moment. And I think it's, there's a very definite reason for that. It's not just kind of sensationalist entertainment. It's trying to make you feel what the person felt. I think, with any ghost story, the whole point of it, if you like, is for that person to somehow cathartically get out of their system what happened to them.
Yeah.
And they were so frightened often, or some stories are moving, but they certainly felt a kind of profound emotion, and they want to convey that. And so, they tell it in the way that they think will convey that fear to you. So I think, what we do is we help them do that. We through that combination of music and sound design, you kind of try and plunge the people listening into that moment and make them empathise.
Yeah, I think what I like about Uncanny, and there's a brilliant Facebook page, the Uncanny fan group on there, but like Haunted Scouse, we pride ourselves that myself and Adam have created a safe space where Adam's the skeptic, I'm more of a believer. But we've created a safe space for anyone who, we host events and people that attend, they can have an opinion either way on something that happens in the moment.
Yeah.
What you've created with Uncanny is that.
It's very much so, yeah.
I've not once seen anybody get into an argument or be nasty with anybody. Everyone's opinion is relevant, and I think that in the paranormal on as it's become TV, there's always been this fear factor of having a negative reaction to something, but having a reason behind it. It's people jump on you, and I think Uncanny has allowed people to have not agree with what they're hearing, but here's my reason, and people go, right, okay.
No, I think so. I think that, definitely that idea of creating a safe space has been very important to us, I think, and just listening without judgment as well. I think prior to what we've done, I think the paranormal was so much about this kind of division between believers and skeptics, and I think paranormal television preached to the converted always. That kind of that world of fun shows, but that kind of world of night vision cameras and screaming and mediums, that's certainly something that skeptics didn't connect with. And I think on the other side you had skeptics kind of very much debunking and pouring cold water without necessarily kind of taking the time to really properly listen to these accounts and kind of I think it's so important. These are such life-changing moments for people, and you have to kind of treat them with the respect that they deserve and withhold judgment, I think, and just listen, really, And I think, I love seeing the fact that believers and skeptics come together on Uncanny, and that people enjoy it in their own way. And each one of these is an amazing psychological drama. It's a moment in someone's life. How could you not be fascinated by this bizarre thing that happened to somebody and changed them as a person? And they're also detective stories, and you can enjoy it as a believer. You can absolutely want to know who the ghost is and track that ghost down and look at the history of the house. And as a skeptic, you can enjoy looking into infrasound and environmental factors, psychological factors. So I think it's no less pleasurable or interesting whether you are coming at it as a skeptic or a believer.
That's the thing, and I think that's why I've enjoyed it so much, because that's exactly how me and Adam work. It's like he's more of the Kieran O'Keefe of the Haunted Scouse team. So he will step back and he will overanalyze something in the moment. But that's good. That's why our followers say, a lot of them say, we're one of the few teams out there that something happens, and rather than screaming or running off with the camera or something, we stay in the moment. And then if we can debunk it, we're not scared to say, after having such a huge scare, we did find out that when we went in the next room, there was a pigeon, or there was a window open, or something like that.
Yeah, did you hear that thud there?
Yeah, exactly.
Thud above our heads there.
Exactly.
It's interesting that there are so many ways to explain things, and yet, the thing I love about the stories that we look at is coming up against those moments where you find yourself really struggling to explain things. And I think, that we wouldn't tell stories on Uncanny unless, if they were simple to explain, we wouldn't tell them, basically.
Yes.
So I think each one's a delicious mystery, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's the joy of it. You give people a voice to say, most people probably won't believe my story, but you've gone about it in a way of, that's the great thing with having the skeptics on as well, is that even for Kieran, a lot of us have seen him on Most Haunted. Now he's got a chance to really speak his side of it, not whilst he's in the moment. And I think it's a lot easier now to put across a more sensible, sceptical argument.
Totally, and it's fascinating, I think. I mean, a lot of the skeptic science behind this and the explanations, they're so interesting. And, and it really is that detective story thing of trying to track down from clues within the story what might have happened, I think. So, it's very interesting. Like, I think, it's like anything, like with politics, football, whatever, like people like to argue and shout and all that sort of thing, and there are people who kind of go like, oh, those bloody skeptics, they never know what they're talking about, and then the other half are going like, oh, those bloody believers, they don't know what they're talking about. So, I think, I think that's quite fun, but it's sort of, at the same time, it stays respectful. I think people do agree to disagree on this show. It never gets nasty, it never spills over. And I love that. I love the fact that we've created this community of people who are completely polarized in their opinions. It doesn't get more opposite than believing that the dead can walk again or thinking it's fundamentally impossible. But that somehow they are able to enjoy it in their own way.
No, exactly. Well, listen, I know you're really busy, so I'll ask you one last question. What next for Danny Robbins?
It's a good question.
Have you got time away from Uncanny now? That's the thing.
I think my family are probably hoping I'm saying coming home and not doing much. I'm loving doing the tour. The tour is on until the end of July and all around the country. So if people are elsewhere around the country and interested in coming, then check out the dates at uncannylive.com. But then we're just near to the end of making our current podcast series. We've been doing Uncanny USA, set in the States, which has been
enjoying that.
Really fun. And then we are about to start work on the next TV series as well. So that's just kind of beginning filming now. Still looking for stories though for that. If anybody wants to drop us a line. And then I've got various different other things that I'm doing. I am really interested in the idea of creating fiction, drama about this subject. I think I've drawn on all these amazing real life experiences. I'm very keen to just write something from my imagination, basically. I'd love to do a TV drama. I'm working on a couple of things at the moment. I think, I love this subject. Always have been obsessed by it. And I've really, really enjoyed this amazing period of my life where I feel like I've found this audience of people equally interested who are connecting with what I'm doing, and sort of long may that continue.
I think that's the key. You're enjoying it. And I think everyone who watches the TV show, listens to the podcast, we can tell that you're enjoying it, and that is the key to it.
And I think I often think, like, when I'm listening to podcasts, what you want in a podcast is someone that you just feel cares about it, and is genuine. And I think you can smell the ones where it's like some celebrity who's been told to do this, But I think, we love personal stories. We love stories about human beings. We love stories told by human beings who care and empathise with the subject. And I find this fascinating. I think I'd be doing it even if I wasn't making podcasts or TV series. I would still want to make sense of this. It's an itch that I feel I have to scratch.
Yeah, exactly. And no one's found an answer yet. But no, listen, Danny, thank you very much.
Thank you. A pleasure.
Yeah, listen, guys, we'll leave all the links below to get yourself some tickets, because we know you're all around the UK that follow us now. But I'm going to let Danny go because he's got to get prepared for tonight's show.
Bye-bye. This is Danny Robbins from Uncanny, here for Haunted Scouse's YouTube channel, and there should be somewhere around here you should find a subscribe button.